Sweden usually makes news for one thing. When the list of happiest countries comes out, they always figure on it. But in the last year, things have not been so happy. First, there was trouble around their NATO ambitions. Now the Muslim world is condemning them. We told you why yesterday. Swedish police permitted a controversial protest outside the Iraqi embassy in Stockholm. I say protest, but it was actually a hate crime. Their plan was to burn pages of the Quran. Sweden said, "We do not agree, but go ahead anyway." Apparently, it's all part of free speech. Now, thankfully, the Quran was not burnt. But the protesters did desecrate it. They stomped on it, they kicked it around, and they tore pages from it. Who organized this so-called protest? The same guy who burnt the Quran last month. So it's one man who's creating all this trouble. You can expect Sweden to condemn this incident, but next month they will probably allow another one. Why? Because for them, insulting religions is free speech. We've discussed Sweden's position before. So tonight, let's look at the other side. What are Muslim nations doing about this? Iraq expelled the Swedish ambassador. Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Iran summoned the Swedish envoy. Jordan and Lebanon condemned Stockholm, and Turkey issued arrest warrants for the culprits. Even Pakistan had something to say. Look at Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's statement. He's calling it a sinister, vile and despicable agenda. For once, he's right. Lebanon's Hezbollah wants the Islamic world to unite on this issue. It says all Muslim countries should expel Swedish envoys. Listen to this.
I call on Arab and Islamic people to demand their governments to withdraw their ambassadors from Sweden and expel the Swedish ambassadors from our Arab and Islamic countries. This is the least that is expected of us. And if they come back to that, the next step should be cutting the diplomatic relations with Sweden.
Such unity is rare in the Islamic world. They should do it more often. In fact, I have the perfect cause for them. China's crackdown in Xinjiang. More than 1 million Uighur Muslims have been detained in labor camps. There are reports of gross violations, things like rape, brainwashing, and human experiments. Why don't Muslim nations talk about this? I know burning the Quran is a huge insult, but so is detaining and abusing 1 million Muslims. Yet the Islamic world is silent. Actually, not silent, they encourage it. You just heard the Hezbollah chief's statement. He was very angry about the Quran burning. Now look at his statement from 2020. The same Hezbollah wanted closer relations with China. They said China brings in money without complications. So I guess it's money over principles. Same with Pakistan. Their former Prime Minister Imran Khan visited China in 2021. He gave Beijing a clean chit on Xinjiang. He said Pakistan trusted China's policies. And the current Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, has stuck with that same position. It's probably the only thing both men agree with or agree about. Questions must also be asked to the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Its charter talks about protecting the rights of all Muslim communities. One big exception, though, the Uyghurs. The OIC has never mentioned, let alone criticized, China's crackdown. They talk about Palestine, they talk about rising Islamophobia, but nothing on the Uyghurs. What explains this double standard? Lebanon's Hezbollah summed it up best: money without complications. The numbers from Iraq should help you understand how much does Sweden buy from Iraq. Goods worth around $360,000, that's it. And how much does China buy from Iraq? Goods worth $23 billion. There is simply no comparison. 360,000 versus 23 billion. It's the same story across the Muslim world, across Muslim nations. China is the biggest trading partner for Saudi Arabia, for Iran, and for the UAE. They're considered Islamic powerhouses. All of them need Chinese money. So what do? They ignore Beijing's abuses in Xinjiang. And do not get me wrong, none of this justifies what happened in Sweden. Their policy is still wrong. But our message is to these part-time crusaders of Islam. They put on their cape when a Quran is burnt in Sweden, but they take it off when Uyghurs are jailed in China. This is not activism, this is political hypocrisy. This is also why the world does not take the OIC seriously. They know it can be bought. Buy enough oil and every crime will be forgiven. As we condemn Sweden, we must also call out this double standard. And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. But first, let me ask you a question. What happens when 500 large golden dogs meet in one place? It makes for the most adorable Vantage shot. Starting with the largest gathering of golden retrievers in history, where hundreds of golden-coated canines met in Scotland to celebrate the birth anniversary of the breed. A suspected underground gas explosion rocked South Africa's Johannesburg. It ripped open roads and overturned vehicles. The blast killed one and left dozens injured. After a period of calm, Peru's Ubinas volcano has resumed eruptions. And finally, what makes the 21st of July significant? We're taking you back to the year 1960 when Sirimavo Bandaranaike was elected the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. She broke the glass ceiling to become the world's first woman Prime Minister. We're leaving you with these images. Thanks for watching.
A bomb or something exploded.